fit for. Stanza 80. So now the new year neared, the night passed, daylight fought darkness as the deity ordained. But wild was the weather, the world awoke too bitterly, the clouds cast down cold on the earth, inflicting on the beche vales from the north. Bleakly the snow blasted, and beasts were frozen, the whistling wind wailed from the heights, driving great drifts deep in the dales. Keenly the Lord listened as he lay in his bed, though his lids were closed, he was sleeping little. Every cock the crew recalled to him his tryst. Before the day had dawned, he had dressed himself, for the light from a lamp illuminated his chamber. He summoned his servant, who swiftly answered, commanded that his mail coat and man's saddle he brought. The man fared forth and fetched him his armor, and set Sir Gawain's array in splendid style. First he clad him in his clothes to counter the cold, then in his other armor, which had been well kept. His breast and belly armor had been burnished bright, and the rusty rings of his rich mail coat rolled clean, and all being as fresh as at first, he was fain to give thanks indeed. Each wiped and polished piece he donned with due heed. The guest from here to Greece, the strong man sent for his steed. Stanza 81. While he was putting on apparel of the most princely kind, his surcoat, with its symbol of spotless deeds environed on velvet with virtuous gems, was embellished and bound with embroidered seams, and finely fur-lined with the fairest skins. He did not leave the lace belt, the lady's gift, for his own good. Gawain did not forget that. When he had strapped the sword on his swelling hips, the knight lapped his loins with his love token twice, quickly wrapped it with relish round his waist. The green silken girdle suited the gallant well, backed by the royal red cloth that richly showy ciel. But Gawain wore the girdle not for its great value, nor through pride in the pendants, in spite of their polish, nor for the gleaming gold which glinted on the ends, but to save himself when of necessity he must stand an evil stroke, not resisting it with knife or sword. When ready and robed aright, out came the comely lord, to the men of name and might his thanks in plenty poured. Stanza 82. Then was Gringolet got ready, that great huge horse. Having been assiduously stabled in seemly quarters, the fiery steed was fit and effarretting for a gallop. Sir Gawain stepped to him and, inspecting his coat, said earnestly to himself, asserting with truth, here in this castle is a company whose conduct is honourable. The man who maintains them, may he have joy. The delightful lady, love befall her while she lives. Thus for charity they cherish a chance guest honourably and open-handedly, may he on high, the King of Heaven, requite you and your company too, and if I could live any longer in lands on earth, some rich recompense, IFL kid, I should readily give you. Then he stepped into the stirrup and swung aloft. His man showed him his shield, on his shoulder he put it, and gave the spur to Gringolet with his gold-spiked heels. The horse sprang forward from the paving, pausing no more to prance. His man was mounted and fit, laden with spear and lance. This castle to Christ I commit, may he its fortune enhance. Single quote. Stanza 83. Stanza 83. The drawbridge was let down and the broad double gates were unbarred and borne open on both sides. Passing over the planks, the prince blessed himself and praised the kneeling porter, who proffered him good day, praying God to grant that Gawain would be saved. And Gawain went on his way with the one man to put him on the right path for that perilous place where the sad assault must be received by him. By bluffs where baths were bare they passed, climbed by cliffs where the cold clung, under the high clouds, ugly mists merged damply with the moors and melted on the mountains, each hill had a huge mantle of mist. Brooks burst forth above them, boiling over the banks and showering down sharply in shimmering cascades. Wonderfully wild was their way through the woods, till soon the sun in the sway of that season brought day. They were on a lofty hill where snow beside 'em lay, when the servant stopped still and told his master to stay. Stanza 84. For I have guided you to this ground, Sir Gawain, at this time, and now you are not far from the noted place which you have searched for and sought with such special zeal. But I must say to you, forsooth, since I know you, and you are a lord whom I love with no little regard, take my governance as guide, and it shall go better for you, for the place is perilous that you are pressing towards. In that wilderness dwells the worst man in the world, for he is valiant and fierce and fond of fighting, and mightier than any man that may be on earth, and his body is bigger than the best four in Arthur's house, or Hector, or any other. At the Green Chapel he gains his great adventures. No man passes that place, however proud in arms, without being dealt a death blow by his dreadful hand. For he is an immoderate man, to mercy a stranger, for whether churl or chaplain by the chapel rides, monk or mass priest or man of other kind, he thinks it as convenient to kill him as keep alive himself. Therefore why say, as certainly as you sit in your saddle, if you come there you'll be killed, I caution you, knight. Take my troth for it, though you had 20 lives and more. He has lived here since long ago and filled the field with gore. You cannot counter his blow, it strikes so sudden and sore. Stanza 85. Therefore, good Sir Gawain, leave the grim man alone. Therefore, good Sir Gawain, leave the grim man alone. Ride by another route to some region remote. Go in the name of God, and Christ grace your fortune, and I shall one ell go home again, and undertake to swear solemnly by God and his saints as well, by my halidom, so help me God, and every other oath stoutly to keep your secret. Not saying to a soul that ever you try to turn tale from any man I knew. Great thanks, replied Gawain, somewhat Gawain-led, and said, it is worthy of you to wish for my well-being, man, and I believe you would loyally lock it in your heart. But however quiet you kept it, I will quit this place, fled from the fellow in the fashion you propose. I should become a cowardly knight with no excuse whatever, for I will go to the Green Chapel to get what fate sends, and have whatever words I wish with that worthy, whether WEA1 or woe is what fate demands. Fierce though that fellow be, clutching his club where he stands, our Lord can certainly see that his own are in safe hands. Single quote. Stanza 86. By Mary. Said the other nun, if you mean what you say, you were determined to take all your trouble on yourself. If you wish to lose your life, I'll no longer hinder you. Here's your lance for your hand, your helmet for your head. Ride down this rough track round yonder cliff till you arrive in a rugged ravine at the bottom, then look about on the flat on your left hand, and you will view there in the vale that very chapel, and the grim gallant who guards it always. Now, noble Gawain, goodbye in God's name. For all the gold on God's earth I would not go with you, nor foot it an inch further through this forest as your fellow. Whereupon he wrenched at his reins, that rider in the woods, hit a horse with his heels as hard as he could, sent him leaping along, and left the knight there alone. By God, said Gawain, I swear I will not weep or groan, being given to God's good care, my trust in him shall be shown. Single quote. Stanza 87. Then he gave the spur to Gringolly and galloped down the path, thrust through a thicket there by a bank, and rode down the rough slope right into the ravine. Then he searched about, but it seemed savage and wild, and no sign did he see of any sort of building, but on both sides banks, beating and steep, and great crooked crags, cruelly jagged, the bristling barbs of rock seemed to brush the sky. Then he held in his horse, halted there, scanned on every side in search of the chapel. He saw no such thing anywhere, which seemed remarkable, save hard by in the open a hillock of sorts, a smooth surface barrow on a slope beside a stream which flowed forthfast there in its course, foaming and frothing as if feverishly boiling. The knight, urging his horse, pressed onwards to the mound, dismounted manfully and made fast to a lime tree the reins, hooking him round a rough branch. Then he went to the barrow, which he walked round, inspecting, wondering what in the world it might be. It had a hole in each end and on either side, and was overgrown with grass in great patches. All hollow, it was within only an old cavern or the crevice of an ancient crag. He could not explain it aright. "O God, is the chapel green, this mound?" said the noble knight. "At such might Satan be seen saying matins at midnight." Single quote. Stanza 88. "Now certainly the place is deserted," said Gawain. "It is a hideous oratory, all overgrown, and well graced for the gallant garbed in green to deal out his devotions in the devil's fashion. Now I feel in my 5 wits it is the fiend himself that has tricked me into this tryst, to destroy me here. This is a chapel of mischance checkmate to it. It is the most evil holy place I ever entered." With his high helmet on his head, and holding his lance, he roamed up to the roof of that rough dwelling. Then from that height he heard, from a hard rock on the bank beyond the brook, a barbarous noise. What? It clattered amid the cliffs fit to cleave them apart, as if a great scythe were being ground on a grindstone there. What? It whirred and it wetted, like water in a mill. What? It made a rushing, ringing din, rueful to hear. By God! Then said Gawain, "That is going on, I suppose, as a salute to myself, to greet me hard by. Gods will be warranted, alas, is a craven cry. No din shall make me dread, although today I die." Single quote. Stanza 89. Then the courteous knight called out clamorously, "Who holds sway here and has an assignation with me? For the good knight Gawain is on the ground here. If anyone there wants anything, wend your way hither fast, and further your needs either now or not at all." "Bide there," I said one on the bank above his head, "and you shall swiftly receive what I once swore to give you." Yet for a time he continued his tumult of scraping, turning away as he wetted. Before he would descend, then he thrust himself round a thick crag through a hole, whirling round a wedge of rock with a frightful weapon, a Danish axe duly honed for dealing the blow with a broad biting edge, bow bent along the handle, ground on a grindstone, a great 4-foot blade no less. By that Lovelace gleaming so brightly, and the gallant in green was garbed as at first, his looks and limbs the same, his jocks and beard, save that steadily on his feet he strode on the ground, setting the handle to the stony earth and stalking beside it. He would not wade through the water when he came to it, but vaulted over on his axe, then with huge strides advanced violently and fiercely along the field's width on the snow. Sir Gawain went to greet the knight, not bowing low. The man said, "Sir, so sweet, you honor the trysts you owe." Single quote. Stanza 90. "Gawain," said the Green Knight, "the God guard you. You are welcome to my dwelling, I warrant you, and you have timed your travel here as a true man ought. You know plainly the pact we pledged between us. This time a 12-month ago you took your portion, and now at this new year I should nimbly requite you. And we are on our own here in this valley with no seconds to sunder us, spar as we will. Take your helmet off your head, and have your payment here. And offer no more argument or action than I did when you whipped off my head with one stroke." "No," said Gawain, "by God who gave me a soul, the grievous gash to come I grudge you not at all, strike but the one stroke and I shall stand still and offer you no hindrance, you may act freely, I swear." Head bent, Sir Gawain bowed, and showed the bright flesh bare. He behaved as if uncowed, being loath to display his care. Stanza 91. Then the gallant in green quickly got ready, heaved his horrid weapon on high to hit Gawain, with all the brute force in his body bearing it aloft, swinging savagely enough to strike him dead. Had it driven down as nighly as he aimed, the daring dauntless man would have died from the blow. But Gawain glanced up at the grim axe beside him as it came shooting through the shivering air to shatter him, and his shoulders shrank slightly from the sharp edge. The other suddenly stayed the descending axe, and then reproved the prince with many proud words. "You are not Gawain," said the gallant, "whose greatness is such that by hill or hollow no army ever frightened him, for now you flinch for fear before you feel harm. I never did know that knight to be a coward. I neither flinched nor bed when you let by your blow, nor offered any quibble in the house of King Arthur. My head flew to my feet, but I did not. Yet you quailed cravenly though unscathed so far. Sir, I am bound to be called the better man therefore. Said Gawain, not again shall I flinch as I did before, but if my head pitch to the plain, it's off forevermore. Stanza 92. But be brisk, man, by your faith, and bring me to the point, deal me my destiny and do it out of hand, for I shall stand your stroke, not starting at all till your axe has hit me. Here is my oath on it. Have at you then, said the other, heaving up his axe, behaving as angrily as if he were mad. He menaced him mightily, but made no contact, smartly withholding his hand without hurting him. Gawain waited unswerving, with not a wavering limb, but stood still as a stone or the stump of a tree, gripping the rocky ground with 100 grappling roots. Then again the Green Knight began to gird, so now you have a whole heart, I must hit you. May the high knighthood which Arthur conferred preserve you and save your neck, if sir it avail you. I then said Gawain, storming with sudden rage, thrash on, you thrustful fellow, you threaten too much. It seems your spirit is struck with self-dread. Forsooth, the other said, you speak so fiercely, I will no longer lengthen matters by delaying your business, I vow. He stood astride to smite, lips pouting, puckered brow. No wonder he lacked delight who expected no help now. Stanza 93. Up went the axe at once and hurtled down straight at the naked neck with its knife-like edge. Though it swung down savagely, slight was the wound, a mere snick on the side, so that the skin was broken. Through the fair fat of the flesh fell the blade, and over his shoulders the shimmering blood shot to the ground. When Sir Gawain saw his gore glinting on the snow, he leapt feet close together a spear's length away, hurriedly heaved his helmet onto his head, and shrugging his shoulders, shot his shield to the front, swung out his bright sword, and said fiercely, for never had the knight since being nursed by his mother been so buoyantly happy, so blithe in this world. Cease your blows, sir, strike me no more. I have sustained a stroke here unresistingly, and if you offer any more I shall earnestly reply. Resisting, rest assured, with the most rancorous despite. The single stroke is wrought, to which we pledged our plight in high King Arthur's court. Enough now, therefore, knight. Single quote. Stanza 94. The bold man stood back and bent over his axe, putting the haft to earth, and leaning on the head. He gazed at Sir Gawain on the ground before him, considering the spirited and stout way he stood, audacious in arms, his heart warmed to him. Then he gave utterance gladly in his great voice, with resounding speech, saying to the knight, bold man, do not be so bloodily resolute. No one here has offered you evil discourteously, contrary to the covenant made at the king's court. I promised a stroke which you received, consider yourself paid. I cancel all other obligations of whatever kind. If I had been more active, perhaps I could have made you suffer by striking a savager stroke. First, in foolery I made a feint at striking, not rending you with a riving cut, and right I was on account of the first night's covenant we accorded, for you truthfully kept your trust in troth with me, giving me your gains, as a good man should. The further feinted blow was for the following day, when you kissed my comely wife, and the kisses came to me. For those two things, harmlessly I thrust twice at you feinted blows. Truth, foe, our truth the word, no need for dread, God knows. From your failure at the third the tap you took arose. Stanza 95. For that braided belt you wear belongs to me. I am well aware that my own wife gave it you. Your conduct and your kissings are completely known to me, and the wooing by my wife my work set it on. I instructed her to try you, and you truly seem to be the most perfect paladin ever to pace the earth. As the pearl to the white pea in precious worth, are in good fight is Gawain to other gay knights. But here your faith failed you. You flagged somewhat, sir, yet it was not for a well-wrought thing, nor for wooing either, but for love of your life, which is less blameworthy. The other strong man stood considering this a while, so filled with fury that his flesh trembled, and the blood from his breast burst forth in his face as he shrank for our shame at what the chevalier spoke of. The first words the fair knight could utter were curses on both cowardice and covetousness. Their vice and villainy are virtue's undoing. Then he took the knot with a twist, twitched it loose, and fiercely bung the fair girdle to the knight. Lo! There is the false thing, foul fortune befall it. I was craven about our encounter, and cowardice taught me to accord with covetousness and corrupt my nature and the liberality and loyalty belonging to chivalry. Now I am faulty and false and found fearful always. In the train of treachery and untruth go woe and shame. I acknowledge, knight, how ill I behaved, and take the blame. Award what penance you'll henceforth I too shall ill fame. Single quote. Stanza 96. Stanza 96. Then the other lord laughed and politely said, In my view you have made amends for your misdemeanor. You have confessed your faults fully with fair acknowledgment, and plainly done penance at the point of my axe. You are absolved of your sin and as stainless now as if you had never fallen in fault since first you were born. As for the gold-hemmed girdle, I give it you, sir, seeing it is as green as my gown. Sir Gawain, you may think about this trial when you throng in company with paragons of princes, for it is a perfect token, of knightly gatherings, of the great adventure at the Green Chapel. You shall come back to my castle this cold new year, and we shall revel away the rest of this rich feast. Let us go. Thus urging him, the lord said, You are my wife, I know we shall bring to clear accord, though she was your fierce foe. Stanza 97. No, forsooth, said the knight, seizing his helmet, and doffing it with dignity as he delivered this thanks, my stay has sufficed me. Still, luck go with you. May he who bestows all good honour you with it, and commend me to the courteous lady, your comely wife. Indeed, my due regards to both dear ladies, who with their wanton wiles have thus waylaid their knight. But it is no marvel for a foolish man to be maddened thus and saddled with sorrow by the slights of women. For here on earth was Adam taken in by one, and Solomon by many such, and Samson likewise. Delilah dealt him his doom, and David, later still, was blinded by Bathsheba, and badly suffered for it. Since these were troubled by the tricks, it would be true joy to love them, but not believe them, if a lord kid, for these were the finest of former times. Most favoured by fortune of all under the heavenly kingdom, whose hearts were abused, these for all fell the schemes of women whom they used. I am snared, it seems I ought to be excused. But your girdle, said Gawain, God requite you for it, I not for the glorious gold shall I gladly wear it, nor for the stuff, nor the silk, nor the swaying pendants, nor for its worth, fine workmanship, or wonderful honour, but as a sign of my sin I shall see it often, remembering with remorse. When I am mounted in glory, the fault and faint-heartedness of the perverse flesh, how it tends to attract tarnishing sin. So when pride shall prick me, foe are my prowess in arms, one look at this Lovelace will make lowly my heart. But one demand I make of you, may it not incommode you, since you are master of the domain I have remained in a while, make known, by your knighthood, and now may he above, who sits on high and holds up heaven, requite you. How you pronounce your true name, and no more requests. Truly, the other told him, I shall tell you my title. Bertilac of the high desert I am called here in this land. Through the might of Morgan the Fay, who remains in my house, through the wiles of her witchcraft, a law well learned. Many of the magical arts of Merlin she acquired. For she lavished fervent love long ago on that susceptible sage, certainly your knights know of their fame. So, Morgan the goddess, she accordingly became the proudest she could oppress, and to her purpose aim. Stanza 99. She sent me forth in this form to your famous hall, to put to the proof the great pride of the house, the reputation for her renown of the Round Table. She bewitched me in this weird way to bewilder your wits. and to grieve Guinevere and goad her to death with ghastly fear of that ghost's ghoulish speaking with his head in his hand before the high table. That is the aged beldam who is at home. She is indeed your own aunt, Arthur's half-sister, daughter of the Duchess of Tintagel, who in due course, by Allah, was mother of Arthur, who now holds sway. Therefore why beg you, old sir, come back to your aunt, make merry in my house, for my men love you, and by my faith, brave sir, I bear you as much goodwill as I grant any man under God, for your great honesty. But Gawain firmly refused with one final negative. They clasped and kissed, commending each other to the Prince of Paradise, and parted on the cold ground right there. Gawain on steed's serene spurred to court with courage fair, and the gallant garbed in green to wherever he would elsewhere. Stanza 100. Now Gawain goes riding on Gringolay in lonely lands, his life saved by grace. Often he stayed at a house, and often in the open, and often overcame hazards in the valleys, which at this time I do not intend to tell you about. The hurt he had in his neck was healed, and the glittering girdle that girt him round obliquely, like a baldric, was bound by his side and laced under the left arm with a lasting knot, in token that he was taken in a tarnishing sin, and so he came to court, quite unscathed. When the great became aware of Gawain's arrival, there was general jubilation at the joyful news. The king kissed the knight, and the queen likewise, and so did many a staunch noble who sought to salute him. They all asked him about his expedition, and he truthfully told them of his tribulations. What chanced at the chapel, the good cheer of the knight, the lady's love-making, and lastly, the girdle. He displayed the scar of the snake on his neck where the bold man's blow had hit, his bad faith to proclaim. He groaned at his disgrace, unfolding his ill fame, and blood suffused his face when he showed his mark of shame. Stanza 101. Look, my lord, said Gawain, the lace in his hand. This belt confirms the blame I bear on my neck, my bane and debasement, the burden I bear for being caught by cowardice and covetousness. This is the figure of the faithlessness found in me, which I must needs wear while I live. For man can conceal sin, but not dissever from it, so when it is once fixed, it will never be worked loose. First the king, then all the court, comforted the knight, and all the lords and ladies belonging to the table laughed at it loudly, and concluded amiably that each brave man of the brotherhood should bear a baldric, a band obliquely about him, of bright green, of the same hue as Sir Gawain's, and for his sake wear it. So it ranked as renown to the Round Table, and an everlasting honour to him who had it, as is rendered in romance's rarest book. Thus in the days of Arthur this exploit was achieved, to which the books of Brutus bear witness, after the bold Baron Brutus came here, the siege and the assault being ceased at Troy before. Such exploits, I'll be sworn, have happened here of yore. Now Christ with his crown of thorn bring us his bliss evermore. Amen. HONYSOYTG Malpence.